With the annual time change in March, of course, it's not only an adjustment for us to spring forward an hour and lose that sleep, it's also an adjustment for hundreds of runners and walkers in this area who are training for spring events like the Flying Pig, who get their training miles in early in the morning before they head off to work. Now, what used to be a 7 a.m. morning run in the light just a month or so ago is now going to be in pre-dawn darkness again, at least for another month or so. Well, Frank DeJulius from Fleet Feet Cincinnati has some reminders for us about being safe out there, runners and drivers as well. Of course, Fleet Feet has a number of training groups out there right now planning those spring events, including the Flying Pig. And Frank, runners and walkers need to be cautious all the time when they're out training on streets and sidewalks, but especially now because of the time difference, it's going to be dark out there.
Yeah, it is. There's nothing better than getting your run done in the morning. Sometimes you get your run done before it is even light outside, and it's just a great way to set the tone. But you're exactly right. The biggest part of that is being safe. So there are a handful of tips and things that we are always reminding our runners in our community to stay safe and to get back from your morning run ready to go.
So what are some of those suggestions? I know that there are vests and tape reflective so that drivers can see them, but what are some of your suggestions to keep runners and walkers safe?
The number one thing I recommend, and yes, we'll get into the visibility side of things, but if at all possible, run in a group or at least with a friend. In any circumstance in life, if something goes wrong, you're in a better position if you're with somebody. And if that's your neighbor, your friend, if something bad happens, at least there's someone else that could, help you out in that situation. But beyond that, exactly what you mentioned, one of the biggest pieces of advice I give people is there are two forms of visibility and light that you should always have on you as a runner. It's important that drivers, other runners see you. So you want to have some form of light on you. Think of it as the rear lights of a car, the red lights of a car. You need to be seen, obviously. And typically that's a blinky light or reflective material, like you mentioned. But also you have to see. Now, if it's dark out, you need headlights. So you need a headlamp or a handheld flashlight or something so that you can see the undulations in the sidewalk or something that might be, coming up in front of you. So don't just think of it as you need a light on you, but really you need two forms of reflectivity and visibility. And that's really an important reminder for our runners.
So let's hope that our runners and walkers are visible out there, but they have to be visible to the drivers. And that early in the morning, your mind may be somewhere else. You're getting your coffee, you're thinking about your day. How about what you recommend for drivers, what they should look for and how they should be cautious as well?
Number one, expect to see runners out, especially this time of year, especially in Cincinnati. Just have your eyes on the sides of the roads, have your eyes on the sidewalks, not just in the cars in front and behind you, but just have that expectation that you're likely going to see some people out running on your way to work. And the other one that, I always think about it is make eye contact with them. It's one thing for you to see them or to think that they see you, but if you're at a stoplight and they're standing there next to you, make an effort to make eye contact with the runner. It's a nonverbal way of saying, I see you, you see me, and let's be safe together. So I recommend that as to runners, but also to drivers, is to go out of your way to make sure that you make eye contact with the other person, to acknowledge that you see them, and you guys can cross paths safely.
As I mentioned, Fleet Feet has so many training groups that are out there right now getting ready for the spring running and walking season. How do you organize your groups to make sure that they are safe?
One of the things I'm most proud of is a group of people that we call our pace group leaders. And these are volunteer folks that are very, very experienced in running, marathon running, half marathon running. And we have a pace group leader or two for every small group within our larger group. So every 30-second interval. So, say 8 minute to 8 minute and 30-second mile pace or 10 to 10:30 pace. We have these pace group leaders, and there are on the road safety. There are on the road tour guides. There are on the road, support for all of our runners. And those folks have agreed to certain safety standards. They run with a cell phone. They're CPR trained. They know what to do in an emergency. And that's really important to us. I wouldn't frankly feel comfortable sending hundreds and hundreds of runners out onto Cincinnati streets every single week, January through May, without those people. So we're endlessly grateful for them, and it's a huge part of what you get when you train with Fleet Feet.
So some final words of advice for runners and walkers who are out there and going to be dark here in the next few weeks, at least, if they're out there in the morning. What's your final words of advice?
Have a planned route. You know, this isn't necessarily specific to that visibility, but have a planned route and tell the people that are important in your life where you're going, and, you know, maybe even what time you expect to be back. If you can run with a phone, that's great. But, you know, we feel like if there's 5 people in a running group, there's really 25 people that are affected, because each one of those 5 runners have loved ones, friends, and family that want to make sure they get back safely. So make sure that the people in your life know what you're doing as a runner and when you plan to get back and where you're going, so that they can be safe. Peace of mind.
Peace of mind is so important. Frank DeJulius from Fleet Feet Cincy, thank you so much for some great tips to keep us all safe during spring training season. Thanks so much.
Thank you.